So I'm going to cover how you handle closing sales. So this is something that I got obsessed with and I got pretty good at. And this was like, I remember when I sold car, it's harder in insurance because people don't hear your sales. But when I sold cars, people would be like, dude, how did you get that person to buy a car? I went from being terrible at closing to being pretty good, and it just takes time and studying. I had a woman pull in looking for the Chevy dealership, and she pulled out in the Mazda like 4 hours later. So that was like one of my favorite sales like ever. I had her test drive the car, and then she lived in the area and we pulled by her house. I was like, "Oh, drive by your house," and I was like, "Drive by your neighborhood." And she goes, and then she pulls in, and her neighbor comes out and was like, "Wow, is that your new car?" And at that point, she had to get it. But anyways, um, it's fun. Closing deals is fun. The only reason you wouldn't like sales is if you have trouble closing. Okay. So the only reason you wouldn't like sales is if you have trouble closing sales. People who are good at closing sales typically like it more than people who don't. So there are many objection handling techniques out there. They all work. All right. SLS University covers permission to fire, which is essentially it's a super simple objection handling technique where you just say, "Hey, can I talk to you like your favorite niece or nephew?" They say yes, and then you just shoot it to them straight, right? Or another one is, "Hey, if I knew that there was something in your best interest and it may hurt your feelings if I told you about it, but it would be in your best interest, would you want me to tell you?" And there's like, "Yeah, of course," even though no one wants to be criticized, but to be like, "Yeah, of course," right? And then you kind of give it to them straight. So that's how permission to fire works. Okay. Fireworks. And then the next one is AIO, agree, isolate, overcome. That's basically what objection handling is. It's like you agree with them, you isolate the objection, and then you overcome it. But that's very conceptual. So that's very like vague and ambiguous. So I'm going to give you guys examples of exactly how you can use AIO in different sales situations. And every rebuttal that I have on the rebuttals page I've used before, and I've probably closed a sale with it or use it in conjunction with another rebuttal to close the sale at one point in time, helping agent close sales. So the close actually starts before getting to the end. Now, if you're a strong closer, you don't really have to have as strong of a PEC and presentation to close a sale because you may be able to just get down to the end and bulldoze them into a sale. But it kind of starts in the beginning. Are we getting on common ground with the client? Then do we build rapport? Do we ask the right questions to make sure that person can even buy a policy by themselves? Right? You can't close someone if they're not the decision maker. Do we go through the needs analysis and build the need? So can you close anybody who doesn't want life insurance? Even if you do force them into a policy, they're going to cancel, right? That used to happen to me. I used to just like relentless follow up and pushing, and they were like, fine. And then they cancel like a week later and block my number. So even if you do that, life insurance, it's a unilateral contract. Remember learning about that? The only obligated party is the insurance company if the client dies, if the insured dies while they're making their premium payments. So someone's got to kind of want it to get it. Life insurance, we can say it's a need to have, but it's not really. It's a want to have because there's no legal recourse if you don't get it. So you have to have someone, and Jordan Belfort talks about this, buyers in heat versus buyers in power. A buyer in heat is someone who wanted it yesterday. It has the need. A buyer in power is someone who doesn't really have that urgency. Who's the only person that really has an urgency for life insurance? Anybody want to share?
Somebody who's facing death,
Yeah, someone who's
somebody
dying.
who's sick.
Or if you own a business and you have to insure one of your employees, or if you have to get insurance before securing a loan on like a big multifamily complex or something. A lot of times they'll do that for like a credit loan. But our clients aren't out there doing that. So for our clients, the only ones who are really in need are the ones who just went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Hey, you got some stuff going on, right? Get some complications." So we have to create the illusion that they are a buyer in heat, right? We have to create this illusion of urgency for them. That's why life insurance is a challenging sale, because we have to create the illusion. We have to time travel them to the time when their family's going to need this policy. We have to bring them there emotionally. So we have to put them through a time portal to the emotional state that they're going to be in, that their loved ones are going to be in when their parents or loved one passes and they have to pay for it. Does that make sense, guys? Or to the point when they're really sick. But most people don't think they can ever get sick. Right? If you ever, maybe you've been there, or maybe you are there, or maybe you have loved ones, no loved ones who got there. But like until someone gets that news that they're really sick, it's like we sometimes people just feel like they're invincible. I remember my mom got brain cancer. It was like, whoa, you know, like I knew mom was crazy. I didn't know that's why she was crazy. Right. So, um, but yeah, so we have to transport them there. So asking those questions in the needs analysis can help. And someone has to kind of want it a little bit before we can really, push that on them. They have to also love their family. And some people just don't. And that's the reality. Probably maybe 15% of people who have kids don't really care about them that much. And that just is what it is. Unfortunately. So we have to ask the right questions, and then we have to build the value in the carrier selection that exceeds what we're going to be asking them for the premium, right? So when we go through the features of the plan, you want to keep in mind, hey, I need to make this plan better than whatever I'm going to be asking for them in premium, because they have to feel like they're getting a deal. It's called a winner's exchange. Like, so stores are perfect at this. Like I was in 7-Eleven a couple weeks ago. I was telling you guys before. Guy comes up with two monsters. They were like $3 each, right? Lady's like, oh, you can get 3 for 7, or it's 2 for 6. And he's like, oh, let me get the other one. He didn't want to spend $2 more on another monster, but he'll spend one. He won't spend $3, but he'll spend one. It was just like so stupid. I'm like, bro, it's $2 more. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. He's trying to save money on it. Why buy 3 monsters when you don't need it? But he ended up buying it and he didn't need it. He probably gave it away to someone. You know what I mean? So it's like at that point, he was like, okay, wow, now that's worth it. And that's going to get into what I'm going next is quoting. So when you quote someone, you have to quote them super high. If you're not doing these things, it's going to be harder to close. If you quote someone super high, it's perceptual contrast. So what happened there? Couple things. And people feel like you're doing them a favor when you work down in price. So that guy went, it's like, okay, $3 each. I'm going to buy 2. If he wanted 3, he'd have probably bought 3 and been like, oh, it's $9. But he bought 2. And then he goes to the register. She's like, oh, it's 3 for 7. And he's like, oh, wow. The store's got a deal. They're doing me a favor, right? And then it was 9, but now it's 7. That's way cheaper than 9. So I'm just going to buy something I don't need. Anybody's parents ever do this? They bought something on sale because they don't need it. My mom and my dad were like, oh, I got a deal on this. I'm like, no, you didn't. You don't need it. Or Amazon. Amazon's like perfect for this because they're like, I buy that like bubble maker that I don't need or something stupid just because it looked cool and it was cheap. It was the deal of the day. So when we quote people high and work our way down, it's very important. So this leads into closing. Now, if you follow all those steps, you're probably going to be able to close 1 out of 4 people that you talk to, 1 out of 4 or 5, conservatively. Like if you do those really well, it should be like 1 out of 4 for sure that you can close, meaning laydowns. Like they're not going to give you any objections at the end because they trust you. You figured out their problem. You gave them a solution and you presented an awesome solution that they think you're getting a deal on. So they're like, boom, like that's it. That's what I want. So it all comes together. But if they give you pushback, they're not certain about something. So if they don't buy right away, it's because they're not certain on you. They may not trust you. People don't want to buy things they don't trust people unless it's like drugs, right? They may not trust the product. So people usually, they may not trust the product that they're getting enough, and people may not trust the company. Okay. So, there's some companies out there people get like all weirded out about, like, I'm not going to buy anything from that company. All right. So you'll see reviews online about what those types. I'm never using Amazon again or something weird. So if someone does, and everybody has different levels of certainty on those different things. Assuming you have someone who can make a decision on their own and has the means to pay and can qualify and all that stuff. Some people do not need to be 100% certain. Like the car I bought yesterday, I didn't test drive it before I bought it. Right? It was a nice car. And I'm like, I don't think I need to even test drive that car. Because, you don't need to test drive that car to know that it's going to drive well. So I was certain enough, but some people would need to test drive it. Totally understandable, right? If someone's like, I'm not buying that car till I drive it, then I couldn't get upset with somebody for that. So some people are, you need to be, how certain do you need to be on the product to buy it? Also trust. My dad, very, very hard to get him to trust you. Like he would never give his social security over the phone. Swear. Like you could, I don't even know. You could be pouring acid into his eyeballs and he'd be like, I'm not giving you my social. So I've done it. Trust me. I'm just kidding. So, has to trust people or the company, trust the company. Some people don't need to be super sold. The people that don't need to be super sold are usually the people at the beginning of the presentation that are going to give you a ton of pushback because they have something to protect, right? Because they're like, man, I am such an easy sale. I got to try to put up this wall here because if not, then I know I'm going to buy. And you guys who have been doing this a while, you can kind of tell once you get through that shell, they're like super softies. Sometimes, not all the time, but everybody has to needs a different level of certainty before they buy. So what we're going to do here, objections and follow up, I'm going to show you how to increase that level of certainty, hopefully to get them to a point where they can buy. All right. So we're going to look at the rebuttals page. So I made this, I put all the rebuttals on here that I found worked pretty well for final expense. So we say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? So any objection, doesn't matter what you get. You can use permission to fire, you can use AIO. I found this is kind of like a combination of both, and it works really well. What we're going to do, we're going to touch on certainty levels on the product, you and the company, improve them, and then try to get them to buy. So they're like, I give them options, and I say, so which of these is the best fit? They say, well, I got to think about it. Immediately say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Like, do you like the idea of a program like this for Johnny? And they're going to say, most likely they're going to say yes. If they don't like the insurance, there's nothing you can do. You can say, why don't you like the policy? I just don't like life insurance. I don't believe in it. And I thought I was going to get 10 times the amount of coverage for what I'm going to spend. You're not going to close that person. So just say, hey, no problem, move on. But most likely they're going to say that they do like it. It is a good idea. Now, the tone that they use when they respond to that is going to indicate on a scale of 1 to 10 how sold they are on the product, right? So if they're like, oh, I mean, it's awesome, it's a great plan, then they're pretty sold. If they're like, oh, it's okay, then it's like a 5 to 6. Keep in mind they may not want to show all their cards, but usually you can, by that point, they're kind of, you'll be able to read it. So you say, now what we're doing here is we're going over a couple more points on the product. So we ask them how they feel about it. Now we're going to increase the value to increase the certainty a little bit. So exactly, you see the true beauty of the program is that unlike most plans out there, this program will advance your family the entire benefit amount before you pass if you're ever terminally ill. And over 70% of people die of a terminal illness. So there's a 70% chance of your family actually exercising this benefit. Now, during that time of your life, Betty, your cost of living will skyrocket from medical expenses and all the additional care that you'll be requiring. And if you're like most families in America, you don't have tens of thousands of dollars available to take care of something like this unless you have a final expense program with terminal illness benefits. You with me? Yep, exactly. And as far as the actual cost of the program goes, it's really an investment into Johnny's future, which is the main reason we're on the phone today. Am I right, Betty? Yes, for sure. Now, some of the money that you put into the program will be available as cash value during the lifetime of the policy, almost like a separate little savings account that can be a rainy day emergency fund. So you'll never lose out, especially with all the bonuses we're going to be sending you for free, like a prescription discount card, a final wishes planning guide, a living will, and up to $5,000 in accidental death coverage. Pretty good, right? You guys can also put another point in here. If someone, say someone has a unique health risk, and most companies are going to make them wait 2 years for the benefit to pay out. They get a return of premium plan, but we can get them one that pays day one, like Sika, congestive heart failure and oxygen. They'll do day one benefit. You really got to hammer that home and be like, look, Now, this plan is an immediate benefit. There is no other company in the entire country that's going to get you an immediate benefit plan. They're all going to make you wait 2 years and be twice as much money or something like that. So you say, exactly, it's an amazing program. Now, let me ask you this. If Johnny came to you and asked if you'd do this for him to help him with the cost of your final arrangements when you pass, you probably wouldn't be saying, well, I just got to think about it. Or if she said, I got to talk to my son. If she said, I have to talk to Johnny, the way that you word this, you say, now let me ask you this. Since you said you have to talk to Johnny, if Johnny came to you and asked you if you do this for him and recommended a coverage amount and you guys kind of worked it out, would you do it there? Like if Johnny came to you and asked you to do this, would you agree to it? And most likely they're going to say yes. So what we're saying there, guys, is like, hey, if this person who you think is a bigger authority than me in the space came to you, would you say yes? And they're usually like, yeah. Most of the time they say yes. If they say no here, you got to confront them and then give me a break tone. So you'd say, wait a second. You're saying if Johnny came to you and asked to help you with this, you wouldn't? Now, at that point, it's almost like they're fibbing. I mean, there's not much that would make sense for them to be like, even if it was like $20 a month and you had everything covered, like you wouldn't do it if your son asked you to do it. To like, nope. Be like, okay, well, there's not much you can do. I would just move on from there, move on from the client. But they're usually going to say yes. I would. Exactly. Now that I can understand. So keep reading here. So exactly. Now that I can understand. You don't know me, and I don't have the luxury of a track record with you. So let me reintroduce myself. My name's Justin, and I'm one of the top producing agents here at Senior Life Services. You can have no sales, and you can say this. I don't care. I pride myself on my ability to go the extra mile for my clients, help their family through the claims process, and be available for my clients 24/7. See, I'm not here just to guide you into the program that best fits your situation, but also to hold your hand and your family's hands every step of the way to make sure you get the most out of your policy. And as far as Senior Life Services goes, at the heart of all of our success is one simple thing. We get your claims paid to your family when they need it most. That's all we do. And we specialize in final expense programs. We don't sell 15 different types of insurance. We work with people just like you, helping them prepare for the worst. We design a product to match your needs and make sure that those needs are met. So why don't you do this, Betty? Apply for and then we get her a quote on a smaller amount. So say you quoted her 50, 40, and 30. Run a quote on like a $15,000 plan, right? So why don't you do this, Betty? Apply for the $15,000 benefit that's available. There's a $15,000 death benefit available. It's only, 73 bucks a month. And this will cover all the basics for you. And as soon as you're approved, you'll be able to finally check this off your list. Sound fair enough? So what we did there is we increased the certainty on the product, us in the company, and then we actually asked her to spend less money. You guys see how it's kind of like it worked? It's like a double whammy almost. So what's going to happen is they're going to agree to that coverage amount or they're going to suggest a different one. You'll be surprised once you get this down how many people will pick one of the higher options that you gave. If not the max coverage, they'll just jump right up to, yep, give me that max. You're right. I should just do this. Give me the max coverage. All right. Now, not if they don't have the money for it, but I've had people do that. I've had people pick the one I recommend, and I've had people will still tell you that they have to think about it or whatever objection. So if that's the case, then you go up to here and you click the button that corresponds to the objection. So if you guys see here on these buttons, after you go through that loop rebuttal, you click on the button. Okay. And then you just start reading. Say, well, look, Betty, certainly you can wait, but let me share with you just what happens while you wait. Number one, and then you want to go through and get like 4 more no's. So I would get like 5 or 6 no's from the same objection before setting up a callback. Okay. 5 or 6 no's from the same objection. So if they're playing hopscotch with objections and they're going, well, I got to think about it. Well, I got to talk to my son. Well, I don't know if I can afford it. They're just like, they're just picking things out of the air. And then you try to isolate what that objection really is, right? So there's different rebuttals on it that you can use to overcome those objections. Okay, now if you're running into a trust issue, say it's social. So say you get through and they're like, I'm giving my social over the phone. I don't give no one my social and my bank account number. And say, hey, I get it. I don't like giving it either, but we do need it for the application. And then just don't say anything. See if they just, sometimes something as simple as that. Sometimes just a complaint. I don't give anybody my social. I don't like giving my social over the phone. Okay, that's a complaint, right? I touch a fire, I get burnt. I don't like getting burnt. I'm not objecting to the fire. I'm just saying I don't like getting burnt. So touch the fire, get burnt. I object to it. Same thing. They're getting the fire to them is the social security number. Ooh, that's scary. I don't like going to that scary area. Hey, I don't like giving my social out either, but we do need it. And then just try to be super calm and chill about it. If you jump into, well, I'm a licensed agent, my national producer number is they're like, okay, way overcompensating. All right. Now you may have to get to that at some point, but you just want to try to play it casual first. And then if they're like, I'm telling you, I still don't give my, I'm not giving my social over the phone. I don't do it with anybody. Then I'd be like, okay, no problem. So what I want to do, I'm gonna go through something with you here. And I don't expect this to have any massive changes on your decision. I get it. You're not giving me your social. No problem. You're not giving me the company. I know it's kind of weird sometimes. You figure, hey, where's it gonna go? But is it okay if I at least cover the brochure with you? So you know what you're getting, and then I can figure out whatever other information I need to get you so that at some point, whatever way we can help this work. And they're usually like, yeah, okay. Is it okay if I just review the brochure with you? I get that we're not getting the social. They say yes. At that point, you're going to use a app called Crankwheel. Okay. So we go crankwheel.com. Okay. Crankwheel is going to help you do instant screen sharing on your phone. Okay, guys. So what Crankwheel does, I have a video on it on how it works. But Crankwheel will let you share your screen with the customer. Okay. So what it does, it sends them a link through their text messages on their phone that they can click on. It pulls up a browser and it lets them see your screen. Okay. So what I would do in that case is I would just go to VanillaSoft. So this is what Crankwheel's website is. You go here, you can sign up. You get like 15 free uses a month or something like that. So we're going to go here and log in, and I'll show you what we would do with Crankwheel. So you go to the script drop-down tab, okay? And you go to resource links AMM. And we go to AMM whole life application 50 to 80, or no, my bad. AMM whole life brochure 50 to 85, okay? So we click on that and they'll be able to see your screen. Then I go through, try to make some lighthearted jokes. I could be like, look how happy people are when they buy life insurance. I think he gave his social. He definitely gave his social. You can tell. That's the I gave my social smile right there. You ever see it? I'd be like, after you get the policy, look in the mirror. You're gonna have that right on your face. Or I don't know. You don't have to, but I would just joke around. And I always just say, look how smart this guy is. You know why he's smart? Because he bought life insurance. And then there's like, I'd say it in like a super corny way as like a joke. Don't be like, you know why he's smart? Because he bought life insurance. Like, no, make it a joke. Then I go and say, okay, it's a bunch of stuff. So what we're looking at here, we'd actually be, this is the preferred plan we're looking at for you. It pays 100% of the face amount immediately, as I had covered before. My agency, Senior Life Services, our agency, this is only offered by us. No other company in the country makes their clients that happy when they buy life insurance. And this is just a bunch of stuff of how Social Security rips you off, but that's no new. That's nothing new. And then this is affordable premiums. So affordable is relative, but they'll never increase regardless of changes to your age or health. Your death benefit will never decrease. They can't cancel it. And you have guaranteed cash values in your plan as well. So these are some of the features. I'm going to scroll down here just for a minute, and you're going to see this one the terminal illness accelerated benefit rider, where you can receive payment of up to 100% of the death benefit for your policy if your diagnosis is terminally ill. So just, you know, you can be quiet there and or kind of explain it a little bit. Maybe give them a chance to read it. Then what you can do is pull up your Pioneer application right on the screen, or go to your SLS way, show them the quotes, right? Be like, these are the quotes I just covered with you. It'll show right on the screen there, the quotes. Would you like to see any other rates, just so that you have the information? And then it'll show them like a bunch of rates. They can write them down. People like that stuff for some reason. Then you click new application and be like, so I just want to show you like what it looks like on my end if I have to go and complete an application, where your information goes essentially. And yeah, so this would be the peace of mind plan. And then I'd go to Florida. So we would enter all the personal information here, guys. And then the next page is the health questions. And then the page after that is where you put the social and the bank account. So at that point, I'd be like, so this is where it goes. Once it's entered here, I can't access it again. It's all redacted. This is just so the company can check your health information. I mean, do you feel like do you feel like you've seen enough to be comfortable with the process and kind of go through this? Also, when you use Crankwheel, they can see you. There'll be a little video thumbnail of you on your camera. So, um, yeah. And maybe if you're at home, like Whitney, you'd be like, oh, this is my kid. Or, someone's got a dog at home, be like, this is my dog. Or, um, this is my invisible friend.
It's
So,
cute.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, people love their kid. People love kids and grandkids and stuff. So, yep. So yeah, and then I'd ask them at that point if they're ready to make a decision. And if not, then okay, no problem. I'm gonna get you what I can. If it's a good enough policy and they're like, I need something in the mail, mail them a brochure, whatever. I mean, if you have a printer, print it out, get some stamps in an envelope. It'll cost you what? Less. It'll cost you, the stamp costs more than anything else to send them. It costs you like 50 cents to send it. Oh, when I started, I couldn't, a lot of the carriers that I wrote with didn't have telephone applications because I started in telesales before like COVID, so it wasn't a thing everywhere. It was usually a 30% success rate. So if I mailed someone an application who said that they wouldn't do it over the phone, I would do everything I could to push them to do it. But I would mail them the envelope. I went above and beyond though. I would go get priority mail envelope 2-day, put a 2-day envelope, pay for the postage, pay for the return postage for a 2-day with the tracking number, and I'd give it to them and I'd be like, you just got to go drop this at the post office. That's it if you get it. So you don't have to do that. Mail them the brochure and just follow up with them if you want. Now, don't take the mail me something cop out, right? So like Miranda, I'm not saying like if they're like mail me something, you're like, cool, what's your address? I'm gonna send it right now. Go through all those steps I just went through. And then if someone still doesn't trust you, send them. There's something about someone receiving communication from multiple channels from you. It's like if someone emails you, adds you on Facebook, sends you a text message, gives you a call, and mails you something. There's something about all those touches that make you more top. They're more top of mind with you. Either you're like, this person's a stalker, whoa, or it's like there's just those different modes of communication, and everybody's got their trigger point. Like you can go through that brochure. Every once in a while, you're gonna get someone who's like, "Oh, it's a beautiful piece of paper you sent me. Let's do it." Right? Then you can write the rates on there. Throw a little something in there. I don't know. Spray it with perfume. So, put a little macaroni in there. It was like my little dog this morning. I had a laptop, and I had a couple laptops out. I had like spaghetti on the counter from the night before on like this plate. I get out of the shower and I'm gonna end the recording here.